Well, the Azores has been an amazing surprise for us, really. I remember researching a place to come to for this time of year back in about February or March. I was actually working offshore off Myanmar, and this is our honeymoon at the moment, so we could have gone anywhere in the world. I think it's a trip that you have a fairly good reason and a fairly good excuse to spend money on and to go wherever you could possibly want to go. We're both really well travelled, both for each of our respective professions, and I remember just looking at a map of the world and looking around and thinking, okay, where haven't we been, but where's also somewhere that's really unique and offers something that's really special. And I think what we've found in the Azores so far is that it's been this really unique balance between culture and environment that I don't think you get in many places. To have a place with history and with extensive European history and local cultural history, but also an amazing environment, not just in the ocean, which is the part that really appeals to myself, but also in the land. I don't really think you see as big of a contrast between land and ocean in too many more places in the world, where there's so many different forms of vegetation, of caves, volcanoes, large volcanic landscapes, cloud forest, all the way to, seamounts in the ocean and large pelagic species and cetaceans and things like that. So really, at the end of the day, it became quite an easy choice for us to come here. And although they always say expectations are your worst travel companion, I think we did have quite high expectations coming here, and it's certainly exceeded those expectations. It's been absolutely remarkable. So it's not a typical travel destination for Australians, but it's been a remarkable little experience for us. Yeah, we had a great experience this morning. I mean, weather aside, which has been absolutely perfect at the moment, it's quite unique, I guess, to have that diversity of cetacean species so close to shore and so accessible, and in such amazing clear water as well. I think that there's a few other places in the world where you do get such a diversity and so close, but more often than not you're jumping in freezing cold, rough waters. So we were definitely a little bit spoilt today, and having a small group and very informative guides and good skippers and things like that made our experience. And like you said, we were lucky enough to have a swim with Rizzo's dolphins, which I know from experience is quite a rare opportunity. It's not something that people get to do that often, and yeah, we had a remarkable in-water encounter with them, so we had a great time. So I'm working with cetaceans now for, I guess, 6 or 7 years, both in professional and a research capacity as well. I'm currently consulting for myself as a subcontractor, doing environmental impacts assessments with particular regards to cetaceans for large industry projects, things like oil and gas exploration. But at the same time, what I've been doing full-time for the last 4 years is working on my PhD, which is focusing on physiology in cetaceans, in particular developing methods that we can use to monitor these animals in a non-lethal way. Obviously, one of the largest contentious issues with cetacean research worldwide has been the use of lethal whaling for so-called scientific purposes, in particular the Japanese whaling program in Antarctica. So a large part of our research is developing the techniques to address the same questions that these scientists are saying they need to go out and kill animals to understand. We've developed techniques to go and monitor those same things in wild animals without ever needing to capture or kill these animals. So in particular, we're looking at developing biomarkers for health, so things like stress levels within the population, so that we can understand how these populations are changing through time. For humpback whales, which is one of the species I'm working on, this is particularly important because we're seeing our population exponentially increase since they stopped whaling back in the 1960s. So we want to understand, okay, now the population's increasing, how well are individual animals doing and how are they coping as the population reaches their carrying capacity, but also how they change in regards to human influence. Humans worldwide are having an increasing impact on the environment, whether it's overfishing or increased noise or more vessels in the water. So we want to understand how these animals are coping to these changes. The other side of it is looking at reproductive measures. So again, that's a major component of how populations change through time, is looking at their reproductive rates. So we know that Australian humpback whales have recovered rapidly to the point of probably at or in excess of pre-whaling numbers by the early 1900s. But if we look at neighbouring populations in the South Pacific, they haven't recovered so well. So by building these measures of health and reproduction, we can start to compare populations and then start to target conservation efforts to figure out what we need to do in order to see more successful recoveries or less impacts in certain areas.